Welcome back to Liberty and Finance. We're delighted to have some new guests. We're here at the Rule Symposium on Natural Resource Investing in Boca Raton, Florida. We've been speaking about it with you guys for weeks. And if you weren't here, you can still get access to the live stream recordings that'll be up for 6 months. So look in the description of this video and you'll see that link that'll get you access to those recordings so you don't miss out on anything. But specifically, we're bringing to you today Sean Wade and Oliver Friesen. They are the Chief Executive Officer and Exploration Manager for Power Metal Resources. And I was just speaking with these guys before we got started. But before we talk any further, Sean and Oliver, thank you for coming on Liberty Finance.
Thank you very much for having us.
So I understand that your company focuses on the metals that power the world and also precious metals, which are near and dear. Well, they're dear to everyone, but they're near and dear to the hearts of our viewers because our viewers are trying to position themselves in a way that helps to protect their families' financial futures from coming turbulence or turmoil in our financial lives. And the precious metals may play a significant role in people's lives for that reason. But that's not where the story ends for Power Metal Resources. You're also interested in a lot of other metals that have strategic roles in our lives, in our economies, in countries, sovereignty, et cetera, going forward. So can you tell us about what are the key resources that your company is after and what you're bringing forward?
Well, first of all, thank you very much for having us, and it's a great pleasure to talk to you and to your listeners, and to tell the Power Metal story. As you mentioned, we focus on the resources that we say power the planet, and what we mean by that is when we look at the decarbonisation trends that the world's going through at the moment, it's very important that the world gets the critical sources that it needs of lithium, uranium, rare earths, the platinum group metals, copper, obviously. We are exploring for 10 commodities overall, of which 7 are on the critical minerals list, and that doesn't include copper, which obviously has a supply shortage as well. So we're very much in the space that I think a lot of investors are focused on, which is how do we build a cleaner world? But which are the commodities that we can buy or through shareholdings that can benefit from that. So that's really what we're bringing here. But what I want to get across, though, Dunagun, to you and to your listeners, is the way the Power Metal Resources model is constructed. So we're what I would call a project generator or incubator, if you like. And it's interesting that we're here at the Rule Symposium. Mr. Rule is an investor in the company, and he describes us as a kind of merchant bank in the resources space. Now, what that means is that we invest in these projects and these critical minerals. And what we seek to do during the time that we own them, either at a very early stage in their development or more towards resource definition, is to add value to those assets. The way we explain the model is we explore, which is to say that we do some early stage exploration, some exploration drilling. We develop, which often means optimizing the capital structure, putting in the right board and management capabilities, and then we look to crystallize. And that can be in various forms. That can either be through a spin-out IPO. And Oliver, for example, in addition to his responsibilities at Power as exploration manager, is also the CEO of Golden Metal Resources, which we IPO'd back in May as a company in its own right. So it's a good example of our business model in action. We've got the next IPO that's coming off the block is going to be called First Development Resources. That's focused on lithium, rare earths, uranium, some gold, also some copper assets in Western Australia and the Northern Territory. It's drill ready. I mean, we like to say it's an oven ready project, ready to go. We're putting in the financing at the moment, and that's looking to list, in the sort of the coming months. But we also have a very large bet on uranium, and we're doing a spin-out IPO there. It's going to be called Uranium Energy Exploration, or UEE for short, and that's focused on our 1,000 square kilometer footprint in and around the Athabasca Basin, which I'm sure your listeners will be very familiar with. It's the premium address worldwide for uranium exploration. We're very excited about the opportunity there, and we're going to be doing a spin-out IPO of a part of the portfolio. And we've made an announcement, in fact, today, talking about the appointment of a financial advisor who's going to help us with that flotation. So that's imminent, and that's another good example of where we seek to crystallize the value in the portfolio. So we've staked out the licenses, which was done by Oliver. We're undergoing some exploration, early stage exploration. So we'll fly some airborne surveys. We'll do some soil sampling. And we will then establish some high quality drill targets within that footprint. And we're going to seek to crystallize that value by, as I say, doing a spin out IPO. So what that will do, I think, will be to give investors, first of all, a pure play opportunity in uranium exploration, which is very limited, certainly in the London market. And it will also act as a price discovery mechanism for the portfolio as a whole. So it's important for investors to understand that when you buy Power Metal, you're buying essentially, this incubator model, which means that you've got equity stakes in various other assets and companies. So some of them are listed, First Class Metals, Golden Metals, soon to be First Development, and UEE. Some of them are unlisted. Some of them we're looking to do strategic joint ventures or outright sales. So it's important that people understand that it's as I said, it's the incubator model, but we add value during the time we own it, and we seek to crystallize that for shareholders going forward. So I like to get people focused on our balance sheet.
Let me ask a question that's probably pretty elementary for investors who own shares in the company. When it then spins off one of these IPAs, are those investors in the original shares of the company somehow continuing to benefit from fractional ownership in that spinoff, or would they have to go purchase that spinoff?
That's an excellent question, because that comes up a lot. And let me explain what I mean. So take Golden Metal. Up until the spring this year, it was 100% owned within the Power Metal group. So you could say, as a Power Metal shareholder, you had 100% exposure to that asset. We've spun it out via IPO, but we retain somewhere in the order of a 60% shareholding. So when the shares go up, and as they have been doing since the IPO, and Oliver's been delivering fantastic news, I'm going to hand to him in a second to talk more about that. Our shareholders continue to benefit. But you might say, well, yeah, but I've got 60% instead of 100%. Yes, that's right. But what Golden Metal has been able to do is to bring in its own capital, so that when it starts to undergo its exploration and the work it needs to do, the Golden Metal shareholders are the ones funding that. So the Power Metal shareholders are getting the benefit of the upside from the shareholding, but without the capital outlay that is required for the exploration. So we look at the model overall. We're saying, we're the parent, we're the incubator, we're the investor, if you like. But all the future exploration spend and all the other work that's going to be required is going to be borne by those spin-out companies. Now, in some cases, you're going to get geared upside. I mean, I think UEE, for example, is going to perform very well in the uranium bull market. But it's a different type of investment. The parent company is a broad spread portfolio, and some investors like it because I don't need to pick a lithium company, a copper company, a gold company. You're doing that job for me, so that works as a ready-made portfolio. But I can also, if I wish, take the pure play exposure. But I think it's worth just on the point on Golden Metal and how we structure the capital and the challenges and opportunities they have. It's probably worth giving Oliver the chance to talk about that, because it's our newest spin out. It's very fresh, and it's delivering a huge amount of value already.
So Oliver, there's a pretty good lead in. If you could let us know about the Golden Metal company itself and what you're trying to achieve, and where the jurisdictions are that you're involved in, what potential investors should be aware of about that company.
Yeah, of course. Well, I think first of all, just to sort of reiterate what Sean has said here, I think the Golden Metal spin-out is certainly very much proof of the Power Metal business model. Power acquired the assets that are now held within Golden Metal Resources for circa about 1.5 million quid. That position on Power's balance sheet is, I think, north of about 4 million quid right now. And for instance, if we continue to perform well and say our share price goes from 10 pence, which it trades at right now, to say about 25 pence, that position can be worth 10, 15 million quid on Power Metal's balance sheet. So I think it's just proof in action as how the business model works, and how the parent company, as well as the company that gets spun out, both benefit from this arrangement. But just Golden Metal Resources specifically, so we are a Nevada-focused company. The reason that we're focused on Nevada is one of the reasons. In the UK, it's quite interesting because it's a very underserved market in terms of the junior resource space. So Nevada being ranked the top mining jurisdiction in the world. When I moved to London about 2.5 years ago and sat down with the Power Metal team, one of the questions was, okay, what kind of spin out can we work on together? And with my connections and actually used to live and work in Nevada, it was certainly a great place to start. And the fact that there's currently no pure play Nevada focused companies within the UK market allows us to sort of be a big fish in a small pond, so to say. USA. So we're totally a Nevada-focused company. We actually own the largest undeveloped tungsten resource in the United States of America at the moment, which is a really interesting story. Number one reason being that China currently controls over 85% of total global tungsten supply. So they have a stranglehold on the tungsten market. And also the United States currently has no domestic primary production of tungsten. So when you're sitting on the largest undeveloped tungsten deposit, and just to sort of reiterate once again what Sean has said, how important, the supply chain is of critical and battery metals right now, I think it's certainly in the forefront of a lot of investors' minds. So we think we're in a really fortuitous position with our property in Nevada. Also, what's really interesting is the U.S. Department of Defense, as of January 1st, 2026. So that's just under two and a half years away from today. The DoD is banning all imports of tungsten from China for DoD uses. So when you ban imports of tungsten from your largest import partner, obviously that's a very interesting position to be in. I think further bolsters the value of our flagship asset in Nevada, which, as I mentioned, is the largest undeveloped tungsten resource on U.S. soil. Just really interesting and an exciting proposition.
So how far through the life cycle of discovery, development, et cetera, exploration, discovery, and so on, does your company carry this before either? Do you take it all the way into operation and carry on from there, or do you sell it off to a major, or what do you do?
Okay, so that's a great question, because I think the important point here, and what I want to get across, and always trying to get across to investors, is, we're open-minded, we're flexible, and we're commercial. I mean, my job is ultimately, obviously, is to deliver value to shareholders through a rising share price, clearly. And, the way we're doing that is through enhancing our balance sheet at every opportunity. So, putting it bluntly, if somebody wants to offer me money for something there's more than I think it's worth, or I'm carrying it on my balance sheet, I'll look at it. We have long-term plans in place for these IPOs that I mentioned, but opportunities come along to add value and to recycle the capital, and that second part's very important. It's all very well to sell assets and frankly, look at this point in the cycle. One's got to be very careful about selling assets. I think we're about to hit some upside here. So not only do you have to pick your timing to sell assets, but also buying assets, recycling that capital into new opportunities. And there's another thing I wanted to mention, and it's great to have the opportunity to speak with you, because in addition to the assets that we've mentioned, another thing we've been talking about recently, and we'll be talking a lot more about going forward, is a big investment in Saudi Arabia. So the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia has a Vision 2030 strategy in place, which essentially is to move away from petrochemicals and oil and gas production and work much more towards a sustainable future based on mining and other industrial activity. So there's an opportunity for early mover advantage for companies like us who are able to add value to exploration projects, development projects, to go into the kingdom. And this would also include Oman, because what we're talking about here is the Arabian Shield geological trend. And so we're working with a consultant who has access to local partners, to co-development partners. And what we're aiming to do is to get exploration licenses, projects that we can manage on behalf of could be any number of different entities, and seek, as we have been doing in the rest of our portfolio, to add value to those and to seek to monetize that over time. Now, what that could mean potentially is assets at a different stage of development. One thinks about, for example, tailings development. There's a lot of tailings opportunity in Saudi Arabia from all the years of oil and gas exploration, for example. But there are also the Arabian Shield is rich with all manner of opportunities, and it could very well take us in a slightly different direction in terms of the commodities that we have been involved in. So I'm really looking forward to talking more about that. But it's a great opportunity, not just for us to add value for our shareholders, obviously, but also to prove out our business model and to show, this explore, develop, crystallize strategy that we have, put in place and in practice.
Well, we're going to make sure and put in the description of this video. Everyone take a look. You'll see the stock information and the addresses of the websites of both of the company's power metal resources, both in terms of their general as well as more specific information available there. Folks, any specific suggestions you have to prospective investors who want to find out more about the company of what they should do?
Yeah, well, I think we've got some great material on our website. And I think you mentioned that, powermetalresources.com, so people can find our up-to-date corporate presentation and obviously all of our recent news. But we're very active on social media. If you follow us on Twitter, you'll be regularly updated. But we also have a contact us function on the website, which will keep you up to date with all of our news. But the other thing I urge people to do is, email us if you have any specific questions, anything we can do to help, anything we can do to tell the story and make it digestible and understandable to investors. We have an info@email address, and we have a team that monitors that, answers the questions, and we really look forward to engaging with investors. And we stand by to help people in any way to understand the story and to hopefully join us on this very exciting journey.
Well, we're grateful for your presence here on Liberty and Finance. Rick Rule has been a great partner with us as far as identifying promising companies that most people have not heard about, that they should take a closer look at, and we're grateful for the opportunity to introduce you to our subscribers here on Liberty and Finance, and thanks for joining us.
It's a great pleasure to be here, Dunagun. Thank you very much for having us.
I appreciate it.
This is Kaiser Johnson with Liberty and Finance, and this is the Miles Franklin Weekly Special for July 24th through July 31st, 2023, while supplies last. And on this one, supplies may not last long, because this week we featured 2023 American Silver Eagles at just $8.99 over spot, our lowest price on Silver Eagles in more than a year. Since its first release almost 40 years ago, the Silver Eagle has been, without exception, the world's most popular bullion coin, which provides unparalleled recognizability and liquidity. It's 3/9 fine, comes 22 a tube, 500 to a box, and is available at just $8.99 over spot while supplies last. Finally, the Silver Eagle is IRA eligible. And if you'd like to learn more about a precious metals IRA, call us, and we'll be happy to help you in that process. To order our specials or any of the many other options we have available, call us at 1-888-81-LIBERTY. That's 1-888-815-4237. We're available after hours and on weekends, and we look forward to speaking with you.